Okay, we're at the top of the hour, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everybody to Platform Analytics Academy. If you're new, welcome. If you're a returner, thanks for coming back. We have a really good session on tap today, so super excited about that. So quickly, I'll go through some logistical information, share some information, and then we'll get directly into the content. We have some really good stuff today, so I want to make sure that we can dedicate as much time as we can to that. So as usual, safe harbor. I don't necessarily know, but there probably is something there. But just to make sure, please make sure that you keep in consideration safe harbor, forward-looking statements and things of that nature as you listen to the content today. Of course, we have a Q&A. Make sure that you're using the Q&A panel rather than the chat. The chat is great for hellos and shout outs and all those things, but make sure that you're putting the questions in the Q&A. We do have other panelists that are on that can answer questions. Any of the questions that come in, if it's relevant to where we are in the content and we'll stop and ask that question. If not, we'll get to all the questions at the end. And of course, all of the questions that are related to the content that we're covering, we'll get first. And then any that are outside of that, we'll try to get to those as well. Presentation is being recorded, so just know it'll be out in the community in a couple days, and of course it'll be out on YouTube as well. And then after the event, there is a survey. If you want to fill out that, we'd greatly appreciate it. My name is Thomas, and Dan is here as well. We are the host and co-host of the Academy sessions. Today we have Zahi and Quentin. They're going to be the presenters and also doing some demo as well. And I believe that Olga and Marta will be here at some point. They have given me the thumbs up that they will. And of course, we have Tara here as well that we greatly appreciate. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass this over to Zahi, and he's going to talk about powering platform analytics with Workflow Data Fabric. Super exciting stuff. So Zahi, whenever you're ready. And if you're
Thanks a lot,
talking, there
Thomas.
you go.
And
Yep.
hi, everyone. Thank you very much for joining. We have some exciting content prepared for you today. So we have Quentin. Quentin is our Workflow Data Fabric expert, and he's going to give us a quick intro to Workflow Data Fabric, what it means, how it works. Then we're going to switch and talk about zero copy connectors and the ability to pull in real-time external data into the ServiceNow platform. And then I will demo a lot of use cases on how we can consume Workflow Data Fabric data in Platform Analytics. That includes data visualizations, performance analytic indicator, and also our new capability with AI Data Explorer. So we have a lot of great content. So let's kick things off, and I'll hand it over to Quentin and start our intro on Workflow Data Fabric. To you, Quentin.
Thank you so much, Tahi. I'm gonna take the screen sharing. Just let me know when you see my screen.
We got you.
Perfect. Hello, everyone. My name is Quentin. I'm part of our data and analytics team. And today I will talk about Workflow Data Fabric and also show some live demos so you can get a feel for the product and understand the value of what we're doing in that space. As you know, at ServiceNow, we are helping with business transformation. We are now an AI platform. We invested so much in our agentic AI capabilities. We application in every corners of organization, such as IT, CRM, finance, risk, security, human resource, and so on and so on. But you probably have heard this tagline that AI is as good as the data it has access to. So this is where Workflow Data Fabric come to play, is how, if I'm using the ServiceNow platform, how can I still leverage the data that I already have in my environment? So you'll see in the kind of 15 minutes that I have, hopefully I'll be able to articulate the value of Data Fabric offering, and you see the demo as well. So we created Workflow Data Fabric as a suite of capabilities so our customers, partner can easily connect the platform, our AI platform, to any data source. And our vision is to make sure we provide easy to use connectors, plug and play, where it takes only 2 minutes to connect ServiceNow to a data source like Snowflake, Google BigQuery, Databricks, and so on and so on. So you don't have to spend time with what I call in my own language, we'll say the plumbing. We take care of the plumbing. We invested in Data Fabric so you can get value out of your data. And you may ask yourself, why would you connect ServiceNow to those data sources that I just mentioned? Well, if you're using our deterministic or non-deterministic workflow, our agentic capabilities, at some point, you're going to need to leverage some data that is outside of ServiceNow. Let's take Snowflake as an example. So you want to be able to query the data without having to move the data. And it's in that spirit that we created Workflow Data Fabric, being able to quickly turn insight into action so you can then remediate issue or make decision. Today we're going to be talking a little bit more about the analytics space. So you'll see how these come all together as one solution. Not going into too much of a marketing slide here, but this is just so you get a very good understanding of the capabilities of Workflow Data Fabric. So we see three main pillars. As you can see on that slide, you see the connect, understand, and take action. A lot of things we do with Workflow Data Fabric is the connect part, where you can plug your ServiceNow instance, your AI platform, ServiceNow, to those data platform with a goal in mind is to help your AI agent make decision. Now they have access to ServiceNow data, but they have access to data from other data source. But also you'll see, I'm sure, with Olga and the rest of the team, when we talk about Platform Analytics, AI Data Explorer, you may want to get insight about the data coming from ServiceNow, but insight coming from Snowflake, Databricks, or BigQuery. And this is where Zero Copy Connector will come to play. Could be just for traditional workflows that you may already be using. You have a logic, if then else logic in a workflow to make business decision. You want to be able to query those data that are in Snowflake and BigQuery. And the last, not least, in experience, you may have agents working in workspaces in ServiceNow. You want to make sure you want to expose that data. So this is where Workflow Data Fabric come to play. So you don't have to do those old school traditional ETL, move the data in and out of the platform, keep the data where it is. And that's what Zero Copy does. I'll double click today in Zero Copy. You'll see the demo of this. So I will elaborate in the next slide. The rest of the capability, I'm going to go over quickly just to kind of tease you on those. All of this is, by the way, already available as part of Workflow Data Fabric. Workflow Data Fabric comes with pre-configured, pre-built AI agent that comes with out-of-the-box API integration. At ServiceNow, we call that integration hub spokes. So say you have some requirement to automate tasks in Zoom or OneDrive or in Workday. Workflow Data Fabric comes with those agentic workflow AI agent and also those API connectors out of the box. So you can leverage that connectivity right away. This is mostly for modern integration and things like that. The Stream Connect piece that you see on the left-hand side, this is mostly when you have a requirement to use more of an event-driven architecture. You may be using Azure Event Hub as your messaging services in your organization. You may store in Azure Event Hub some telemetry data. Say you want to use ServiceNow to act on that data and you want to push in near real time that telemetry data into ServiceNow, and you have large volume of data that needs to get in ServiceNow. So you can take action on the right side. Stream Connect is a very good way to set up an event-driven architecture. We're leveraging Kafka for that product. And there's a ton of use case and value you can get out of it. Very robust way of pushing data in and out of the platform in real time. If you're dealing with unstructured data, you may have use case where you use AI agent or even human agent, but they need to access unstructured data to answer or help end users or customers. So Workflow Data Fabric comes with external content connectors. Basically, what we do with this, we index those platforms like Confluence, Jira, SharePoint. We are able to index all those PDF files, Word documents. So when you're leveraging the AI platform ServiceNow and you're searching for some information, or it's just AI agent that needs to make a decision but need additional information, let's say about a travel policy, and maybe you still have like policies stored in document, this technology will help you get access to that data without recreating those knowledge articles in ServiceNow if you don't want to. The last not least, it's Lens. Think about Lens as an OCR technology on steroid, right? Using AI, using all of our AI capabilities, but this is mostly for end users who need to answer questions from things that are displayed on a screen. say you're stuck in a SAP UI, you are an end user or business user, so, or you just want to extract quickly information from an SAP screen, you can use Lens, take a screenshot of the screen and ask question, get insight from that screen, and AI can give you information and help you from what is displayed on the screen. So very cool capabilities we put together in Workflow Data Fabric. Connecting to data source is not enough. We're leveraging on the middle piece the knowledge graph, and there's a lot of more capabilities coming in 26 to help contextualize the data, right? So knowledge graph is one piece of the puzzle. It's already on the platform. We're gonna add a ton of more capability around the knowledge graph to really contextualize the data so a human or the agentic workflow can better understand the context of the data. All right, so that was kind of the quick overview of Workflow Data Fabric. I'm gonna skip that slide because it kind of repeat everything I said already. So we'll share the presentation with you. This is a good one to understand what is what in that portfolio. Zooming in, the zero copy architecture, so which is one feature of Workflow Data Fabric and the one we're kind of showcasing today. Take the example of Emma here on the left-hand side. She's a CSM agent. She's working in a workspace. She's also, as a CSM agent, she's tracking, you know, all the different cases and the trends and which customer is requesting the most information and things like that. She may be using Platform Analytics. She needs to expose data from Snowflake because maybe in her company, she has still a lot of CRM data or customer information in Snowflake that needs to be displayed in a workspace, in a UI in ServiceNow, using Platform Analytics, or maybe she's going to be using AI Data Explorer to ask questions about the data. So we want to plug the ServiceNow instance to those data sources and how it works with zero copies. ServiceNow, we're leveraging what we call a federated query engine, separated, decoupled from your ServiceNow instance. So the middle box you see here, it's a newly piece of infrastructure we deployed in our data center that actually make the connection to the different data source you may be using. Mostly, zero copy works with cloud data platform, Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery, and things like that. So when Amy or Emma is using Platform Analytics, workflows, or AI agent, and we want to query Snowflake, at some point there is an SQL query being generated and we push down that SQL query to the data platform, we retrieve the content, and we can display on the screen or use it from a workflow perspective. At zero moment, this is a key piece you need to remember, the whole value of zero copies, as the name said, there is no copy. We don't store the response from the SQL query in ServiceNow. It's in real time. As soon as Emma closes the dashboard, the cache is emptied. There's no data copied over. I just want to make it clear. You may be asking me what is the value of using zero copy? Well, to unify, if you're leveraging and investing into ServiceNow, you're going to have hundreds of AI agents, of workflows to run your business in every single department of your organization. You can unify access to that data via Workflow Data Fabric and zero copy. So your workflow don't have to go to point to those data source. We can centralize using zero copy the data from ServiceNow. Easier to manage at scale. We enhance security in a sense that we prevent duplication. Anytime you move data, those who are listening who are in the risk space, compliance space, you understand that moving the data is bad. If we don't have to move it, we don't move it, because then you have to make sure the data is kind of consistent across different systems, and it's just adding additional risk. So we eliminate those risks by just querying the data remotely and not moving it like we used to do back in the day. So improve the compliance and security. In terms of your data footprint of your instance, a lot of our customers don't necessarily want to import terabyte of data into ServiceNow, and because they're going to be reaching the limit of 4 terabytes, and just increasing the footprint of data on their instance, maybe slowing down performance in things like that. So if the data can stay where it is, it's always better. So you limit the amount of data you're putting into ServiceNow, basically. So that's kind of the value proposition for zero copy. I'm going to jump into demo mode quickly because I see I only have like 5 minutes or so, unless I can extend a little bit more. The persona for the demo, so you see 3 personas here for today's demo. So the one I'm going to be doing is data steward. It's a person who is going to go in ServiceNow and configure that zero copy connector. It's going to make available the data from ServiceNow, but that data is in Snowflake. So that's the demo I'm covering today. And then you'll see with the following, the demo after me, the analytic manager and the business analyst. How can they leverage from ServiceNow that data that is now available in ServiceNow using that zero copy connector. So, having said that, I'm going to double click or zoom into the data steward and show you the product so you can get a feel for it and show you how quickly we can leverage those data from those different data sources. You may be wondering why I'm showing here a Snowflake UI. Here, maybe a data steward. I just want to show you an example of different data that is available from those data platform, cloud data platform. Here I'm going to pretend I work for Aromatica, a cosmetic company. We're making fragrance perfume. And as you can imagine, in the factory, we have thousands of machinery, sensors, storage tank, like mixer machine. All those machines generate a lot of telemetry data. And as a factory making perfume, I want to make sure all my machinery, my robotic are on point, and I'm making sure I perform the maintenance on time and sometimes proactive maintenance. So I may need to leverage that data from ServiceNow so I can orchestrate my proactive maintenance, dispatch my agent to go fix those machines. That's just kind of a fictitious use case for you to understand what type of use case we can use zero copy. Say I want to leverage those different data assets that you see here, but from ServiceNow. Doesn't matter if there's millions of rows, right? Here we have like thousands of rows. Here we have probably 14 million rows. It contains machine data. For my use case, I need to expose that data into ServiceNow. So I'm going to show you how we can make available those tables directly in ServiceNow in just a few clicks. So I'm going into my ServiceNow instance as a data steward, and I'm going into Workflow Data Fabric. In Workflow Data Fabric, I have access to all those out-of-the-box connectors to those cloud data platform. That's the value we bring with Data Fabric. You don't have to build the plumbing. We take care of it. You can see that there is the Snowflake here. I can review the Snowflake one. There's just a few fields I need to populate. Mostly it's the handshake, the authentication to Snowflake. So I'm going to be talking to my SME who will take care of my Snowflake environment and is going to provide to me the private key, the different authentication method, the database information so I can make the connection. For that demo, I already have established the connection. You can see it there. So we can just go and test it. I got all the connectivity information from my Snowflake, SME, and then populated the information it gave me, and then I can click Test Connection. At this point, ServiceNow, your ServiceNow instance is going through our federated query engine, which is then talking to your Snowflake and listing all the data assets available. So now I can see, okay, what data asset I have available to me that I can expose to ServiceNow. As you can see, it's the same tables we saw in 2 minutes ago in Snowflake. For my particular use case, I know I only care about the sensor, maybe the maintenance record. The way you expose those data platform tables to ServiceNow is by creating a data fabric table. Some other platform, they will call it a virtual object, virtual table. It's kind of the same concept. Here, we call it at ServiceNow a workflow data, a data fabric table. I'm going to put a name, a label, a name. And at this point, this is just going to become a table like any other table in ServiceNow, except that it will not physically store any data on the instance or the database of your instance. It's just a virtual mapping, which I'm doing right now. I'm looking at what column I want to make available on that data fabric table from Snowflake, which are the table I want to keep using when I expose this data in ServiceNow. Here I want to keep the same mapping, but there may be sensitive data or column it's not necessary to expose to ServiceNow, so you don't have to select them. Then of course you can change the type of field, play with reference field. This is all ServiceNow stuff. I'm not going to dive into this too much. I'm going to cancel this and define your primary key. Once you've done that, you're pretty much set. You just have to make sure who has access to it, who is the person who's going to maintain that mapping over time. So I'm just going to add in access control the data steward. It's a new role in ServiceNow. That new persona in ServiceNow who is going to be responsible for maintaining those mapping, the connectivity, and things like that. So I'm defining my role in my group here. On top of this, before you ask, it's not an open bar. Not everybody in ServiceNow, the AI agent, the workflows, and the end user, they won't have access to this unless I define the role and ACL like you do with any other table in ServiceNow. You have to make sure you create and maintain those ACL. Which I really love because it's part of the same governance you already have in ServiceNow. So let's review that table, and that will be kind of the end of that demo portion of my demo. Is let's see the data. How can we expose that data? Now I created the data fabric table. I can simply go in here, filter, and I should be able to see that data fabric table here and open it. So I'm just gonna open it. As I'm clicking open, you see it's a simple list view in ServiceNow. That data could be, you could then use it, that data fabric table, in a dashboard, in a report, platform analytic, or in a workflow, or if you use RAG and our AI agent technology, the AI agent can query it. But we don't copy the data, we query it remotely, we display it here on the screen. If I close the browser and I reopen it, I'm gonna submit another SQL request. It's at any moment we store the data. Right, so that's just what I just wanted to walk you through the experience of making that data available via a data fabric table, and you saw how fast it is. So it doesn't matter how many million of rows you have in Snowflake and Databricks, that's going to be the same process. I know I went a bit over, Zahi, but I think it's time for me to hand it over to you so you can show the next step.
No
Can we do a couple of quick questions live here?
Sure.
Time for that, Zahi? Okay.
I say sure, but Zahi control the timing there.
Yeah. Well, sure. Because I think a couple of these I'm asking just because I saw them asked a couple of times in the Q&A. One was about the question of whether you need RaptorDB Pro or a standard Raptor or Raptor at all. And I think the answer, Zahi, you said no, it can work with any.
Correct. Correct. Yeah. It's RaptorDB Pro will help for certain use case, analytical use case where you bring a lot of data over on the platform, but for zero copy, it's not a requirement at all.
That might be related. Another question that might be related to your answer there is there a limit to the number of records a user can view or fetch?
No, we have a customer who've tested with 250 millions. Obviously, when we make the query in short, we don't grab the 250 million rows directly. We use pagination. I mean, just traditional way of dealing with huge amount of rows. But yeah, no, there's no hard limit like you have seen in the past with remote table. Yeah, sure. No hard limit. Wait, a few one I can answer.
Yeah. Oh, well, the other one that I saw that I actually answered a few different times was licensing, and I wanted to clarify that Workflow Data Fabric is a separate subscription SKU. That's all based upon a consumption model. It's so it's not like packaged with any other SKU as far as I am aware, unless Zahi or Quentin you have.
No, it's part of Workflow Data Fabric SKU Pro, and it's licensed per. We have Data Fabric credit. You can use toward all the capabilities are presented, so you can use those credit toward zero copy usage. And the token, the data fabric credit are used toward it. There is a metering based on the volume of data retrieved from those queries. That's how it works.
I just happen to see one other one here that looks like it might be a good thing to do. Have you done any performance testing on joins across remote and local columns? How many records?
We've done. I can't really communicate. I don't have the detail on how many records, but we've done it. Obviously, we need to be a bit smart when we do remote SQL query with push down. But yes, we did that. As we onboard more customer, we discover things and we can do query optimization in the backend for some of the most complex join or aggregate. But I can't communicate. I don't know the number of records we tested it toward, but it works.
Yeah, great. That's good. No, thank you. Thomas, I know you had flagged a couple, but I just want to make a quick comment too. I see at least one person has raised their hand. If you have a question to ask the panel, would you please put that in the Q&A panel instead of raising hand? Otherwise, will assume I'm going to lower your hand, but if you still have something else like a a functionality question for the webinar or something like that, you can raise your hand again. But if you have a question to ask the group, you can just please put it in the Q&A.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. And then the only other one I'll ask, and you may have answered it, is the zero connector real time?
Absolutely, because I would say, depend if real time you mean a second or two. Yeah, it's like, I would say near real time. When I was displaying on the screen, you open a table in ServiceNow. It's gonna take maybe a second to go query the remote data platform and display it. But yes, it's real time and nothing it's duplicated or anything like that. So I would say it's near real time because it may take a second for the response of the SQL query to come back, and
Okay, great. Thank you. All right,
near
go
real
ahead,
time is
Sahi.
the best answer.
Okay, so thanks. And now that we've seen how workflow data fabric tables can be configured in ServiceNow, let's see how we can actually consume data with Platform Analytics. I'm just going to show one slide and we're going to jump directly to the demo. So essentially, all of the core platform analytics capabilities support workflow data fabric. So obviously, dashboards and data visualizations. Starting the Zurich release, we can configure data visualizations directly on top of data fabric tables. It's 100% transparent to the user. So really nothing special. And we'll see that in a demo in a second. Performance analytics indicators. We can create indicators that map the indicator source to a workflow data fabric table. In this case, it would actually give us the added value because we're actually aggregating and storing the scores on the ServiceNow platform. We can even create breakdowns on workflow data fabric tables. So think about it. It's really amazing. We can easily use performance analytics on any external data source. So getting all the value of targets, thresholds, signals, all the good stuff that performance analytics has to offer. And this is coming up in the Australia release, which will be available to customers during Q2. And lastly, AI Data Explorer. That is the only piece that requires some sort of an additional configuration step, and we'll see that in the demo, but also available from the Zurich release. For those who are not familiar with AI Data Explorer, we use natural language and advanced AI to query our data, and with the workflow data fabric connection, we can query our entire enterprise data. So with that, let's jump directly to the demo. So in the same way that Quentin configured the Aromatica table, I have mapped a customers table from a sales database. We're still in the CSM use case. And I just want to show you the different columns that I've mapped. So we have a customers table on Snowflake, and you can see all the different columns. We have a customer ID, email, full name. We have is high value, which is a Boolean field. We have a join date, which is a date field. Lifetime value decimal. We also have the region code and VIP tier, and we're going to use all of these fields in our analysis. So I'm going to jump directly into Platform Analytics, and I'm going to create a new dashboard. Let's call it WPDF NPA demo. So I've created my dashboard, and I'm going to add a first visualization. And I'm going to map it to the customers table we've just seen. So I'm going to stay with a single score, and I'm going to add a data source. And you can see I have my customers table here suggested just because I used it when I prepared to this demo. So I'm going to select the customers table. I'm going to also add a custom condition that I will reuse in all of my visualizations. I want join date to be before September 30th, September 1st, actually. I'm going to run it. And you see, this is actually querying Snowflake data. We see a preview of the Snowflake data, almost 2,000 records were retrieved. And I also want to save it as a predefined condition because, as I mentioned, we're going to reuse it. Customers pre-SEP 25. So I'm going to save it, and I'll go back to my visualization configuration, and I'll select data source. I'm going to add it. And even in preview mode, we can see the data again coming from Snowflake. Let's give it a title. So this is number of customers. I'm also going to duplicate it. Now I'm going to add the sum of lifetime value of all customers. So I'm just going to edit this metric. I'll go with sum and lifetime value. And let's also update the title. And also let's give it a quick format. And you see, again, the data is updating in real time, and the performance is quite impressive. And I'm going to add one last visualization for now. So let's add a semi-donut. I really like semi-donuts. And let's again use the customers table. And this time, I'm going to reselect my predefined condition. And I'm going to group by a specific field. Let's group by VIP tier. And let's give it a title as well. And I also want it to act as filter. So I want to show you how we can even use Workflow Data Fabric, data coming from Workflow Data Fabric and Snowflake as a filter. And one last thing I will do, I will just add a list that will help us visualize all the content that we're filtering and consuming. And I'm going to map the list to the exact same table. So you see how easy it is. I didn't do anything special. I was working as if I was working on any standard ServiceNow table. I'm going to save this dashboard. Exit the edit mode. We can see the list. We can paginate through the list. Again, we can see the data loading directly from Snowflake into my Platform Analytics dashboard. And I can also filter the data. So let's click on Silver Customers. We can see the number of customers updating, lifetime value is updating, the list is updating. You can see that it's only containing silver customers. So how easy it is, and again, the performance, we're running actually 4 queries into Snowflake and everything runs very quickly, as you can see. Indeed, only 2,000 records, but from tests we've done, as Quentin mentioned, we're seeing very good performance. Obviously, we're limited by the physics of the world we live in, whether it's the external system or the network, of course. But you saw nothing here. I wasn't even aware that I'm working on an external table. Now, I'm very happy with this dashboard, but I also want to start analyzing data with performance analytics indicators. I'm specifically interested in analyzing trends of lifetime value and join date and other interested analysis I want to perform. So we will not go through the entire configuration process, but I do want to take you through some key steps on how we configure performance analytics indicators on Workflow Data Fabric tables. So what I will do, I will jump to our list of indicator sources, and I will create a new indicator source. And that is pretty much the only thing I need to kind of take into account. So in my facts table, I can simply select our DF customers table, as it is a Workflow Data Fabric table. For example, I can just focus on customers where their join date is in the last month, and that's it. Now I can continue and configure my indicator exactly as I would. So I have an indicator source. I would go ahead and create an automated indicator. I've already created one mapped to this exact source, and we can quickly review it. So this is a monthly indicator tracking the number of joined customers per month. And we also created breakdowns on this indicator. And again, the breakdowns are mapped on the Workflow Data Fabric columns. So we have a breakdown source of lifetime value. And we also mapped that source to a bucket group. So we have bucket groups on the values on the data on Snowflake. So we have 4 groups, 0 to 2,000, 2 to 4, 4 to 6, more than 6. So you see we configured all of this in the same way we would configure any other indicator. Now let's go back to the dashboard and let's add the indicator to the dashboard. So I'm going to add a new data visualization. This time I will use a column chart. I will go and select the indicator that I created that we just saw. So it's total customers added monthly, and add the source. I also want to zoom in on a specific date. I'm going to set it between January 2024 until September 25. And I have my indicator. So this is data from Snowflake aggregated with performance analytics scores. Let me save it and let's exit edit mode. And we can look at the data and look at the number of customers that joined in each month. Obviously, I had to run the job, the collection job. It ran in the background. And I can even click and zoom in into KPI details and actually see the values. But more importantly, I have my breakdowns. So here I created 2 breakdowns. So we looked at the lifetime value bucket. So we can see the analysis, we can see the 4 groups. I can actually go and apply a filter. We can also filter by is high value. And again, it behaves like any other indicator. And as I said, the data is actually stored on the PA scores table. So every day, let's say if it's a daily collection job, it would query the external system, it would bring the breakdown scores, it would store everything on the ServiceNow side. And with this one, we're actually going to get the performance benefit. So I think it's quite amazing. So performance analytics can now run on any data source in your across your data stack. One important comment, some of you probably know, last year we launched our new performance analytics architecture. It's called data snapshots, and it allows you with unlimited breakdowns on your indicators. For now, it is not supported on Workflow Data Fabrics, but Classic PA that we've all been using for years is supported up to 2 levels of breakdowns with all the capabilities available. And as mentioned, that is part of the Australia release. Okay, so let's go back to my dashboard. So one more thing to notice here. So maybe some of you noticed that we have this AI Sparkle icon next to our single scores. Now, this is actually AI Data Explorer, our kind of natural language AI exploration tool. Now, this, as I mentioned earlier, this is the only part that requires a unique configuration. It is super simple, but essentially we need to tell AI Data Explorer that we have another table that needs to be considered when querying data. So let's quickly see how to do that. So we have a configuration table. It is called semantic table configurations. And I've already created a record. It is very, very simple. So once I have created a new Workflow Data Fabric table, I simply need to add it here and save. It's easy as that. I'm not going to do it because I already created the record. I just want to show you. So for example, now we can see the sparkle icon. If I switch it to false and refresh, then the sparkle icon is now gone because AI Data Explorer is not recognized on this table. And I'll switch it back to true. And now we can use AI Data Explorer. So let's start analyzing some data. I'm really interested in analyzing the lifetime value of my customers. Again, now I'm going to query Snowflake Live. I'm going to click on the sparkle icon. We can see that I can type in a custom prompt, or I can go just with the out-of-box offering. So I'll select Analyze Trend. And now AI Data Explorer is going to crunch the data, is going to bring the data from Snowflake, analyze it, and we'll get the response here. So we're seeing now it automatically analyzed the lifetime value by join date cohort. And we can also see the insights. We can see that that the value fluctuated, ranging between 64K to 134K. The highest was recorded in August 24, and we can see the value. And this is really nice. We have the average value here. I can edit it, I can add more text, and I can continue my exploration. Specifically, what I want to do next is to analyze lifetime value by region. If you remember, when we initially looked at the table, we have a column called region code. So my prompt would be some customer lifetime value by region code. So I'm just going to type in this query. I'm going to send the prompt. And again, now we're going to Snowflake, we're querying Snowflake, aggregating, analyzing, and summarizing data coming from Snowflake. And we have this great chart. So we see all the different region. We can see that US West is accounting for the highest value for customers, over $1 million. We can see 27% of the overall sum across all regions. So I really like this chart, gives me clarity. But we can see that also AI Explorer is offering us additional follow-up questions. So the first one really intrigues me, certain region codes associated with higher average customer lifetime value. That is a great question, I think, because this is just obviously accumulating all customers, but maybe we just have more customers on US West. So I'm going to click on the recommendation, on the first recommended follow-up question. And we can see actually, yes, so that actually the Midwest has the highest average lifetime value per customer. So that's interesting. And West is actually third, although it's generating the most revenue. So I think this is really interesting. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to summarize this exploration. Now, AI Data Explorer is going to take kind of the most interesting insights, going to summarize the insights from all the different explorations that I did here. And now I want to share it with Aaron because Aaron is the marketing manager for the Midwest market. So I'm going to share it with Aaron. Aaron Anderson. I'm going to add him as an editor. And I'm sharing this data coming from Snowflake. And I can also write a small comment. So I want to add more marketing budget. So I just added this, and now Aaron can see it. He can see his name mentioned. He can continue and work on this exploration. And again, all of this done with zero copy connectors and data coming from Snowflake. So this is super exciting. In the same way, you can continue and query ServiceNow data, other sources, and everything will be bundled under this exploration. So I think this is very exciting, these capabilities. And let's do like a very quick recap of what we saw today. So Quentin demoed and explained about Workflow Data Fabric. We saw the zero copy connectors architecture and how we can set up a Workflow Data Fabric in ServiceNow. We saw how we can consume Workflow Data Fabric data in visualizations with performance analytics indicators and with AI Data Explorer. And we're really excited about this capability. We really think it's a game changer for our customers where they can use the full suite of platform analytics capabilities on their external data. So that is the content we have for today. And if we have a few more minutes left, we can probably
We've
take
got,
it.
yeah, we've got some questions. So Tara, you had marked one.
I
Did you
do.
want?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't going to answer it. Hi, Lisa, by the way. So good to see you online again. I wasn't going to answer for her. I think Zahi pretty much answered most of it, but I kind of wanted to lean in on the question a little bit more because we're using zero copy connectors, so we're not actually technically storing the data. If you drill into a record when you use a workflow data fabric to run and use that as your data source and you're running a job on it, will the data change when you drill into it?
By changing, what does it?
Well, so I'm just curious, so like,
Mhm.
when you drill into the data, historically it would just show you the SysIDs of the data that met the criteria at the time that the
Mhm.
job was run. Is it something similar to that where it shows you whatever met that criteria at the time the job was run because we're using that zero
Oh,
copy connect
are you
or
referring to show records?
yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. So it would work in the same way it works in classic PA
Okay.
today. So we show the current records.
Okay, cool. I just wanted
You-
to clarify that. I hope that answers your question, Lisa.
Yeah, so that means like the current status of a record that was that was queried using data fat or zero copy would
Correct.
it would but not current as of the time the score was collected, but current as of right now. So you're saying,
Correct.
right? Okay. Okay, good.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank
Couple of ones with things like multiple tables. Can we join multiple data fabric tables to create a view to build a PA report on?
I can help with this unless someone from the team wants to. Yeah, I've done database view with data fabric table. The recommendation, if it's only like say Snowflake tables, I'd recommend you do the view in Snowflake. All transformation and views, it's always best to do it at the source. You could do it in ServiceNow directly, but my recommendation, if you can do it at the Snowflake level, because otherwise you're just dealing with complex SQL on, backend, and performance may not be the best. I hope that answered the question. If you have to join two Snowflake table, assuming snow tables means snowflakes, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Yeah, yep, I believe that. Because I have another question around database views with native snow tables. So yeah,
Oh, okay, someone clarify. Yeah,
that's
snowflake
a
table. Yeah,
separate.
but honestly, don't do like if it's snowflake table, do the to work with your snowflake team so they can expose the right data set in snowflake, and then it's already joined, and you use this as a data fabric table. If you see what I mean. I will avoid database views have limitation on number of record and things like that. So I would try to avoid as much as possible. I'm not saying
Yeah,
it's
So
not okay.
that also may be if you have a workflow data fabric table that you've created, can you put that into a join with a native ServiceNow table? I think maybe that's what they're meaning as well.
Yeah, this will work. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We do left. We've done this. I mean, I've personally done left join and things like that, mixing Snowflake table and local table. Yeah.
Okay.
let's see. I've got a couple here. If you were using oh, actually it's related to this. If you're using a PA data source and show data, does it display the remote data? And I think so what we're saying is yeah, that so it's a
Yep.
because I assume we mean PA data source, we're talking about it as the data source still comes from the zero copy or the data.
Yeah. So if you're using performance analytics, then we will only store the scores on the instance, but the records will not be stored. So everything still remains on the external system.
See, is it possible to store, and I think very much the same thing, possible to store snapshots? Their example was using P key defined in the WDF table, so the primary key, and I don't,
So not with zero copy connectors. That like the essence of zero copy connectors is the data is never copied to ServiceNow.
and then just to follow up on one of the statements that was made, did I hear that Workflow Data Fabric will support data snapshots after Australia? Was that what
That is
released?
a great question, and unfortunately, I would say undetermined. The way the data snapshots work, if it's a ServiceNow table, because it's change based. So if something changed on ServiceNow, we know that something changed. So that's why we can enable data snapshots and actually capturing each change. But if something changes on an external system, then it's a lot more complex to actually listen to all the changes that happen on a remote system. We will start to look into it, but let's say during 26, we're not expecting to support workflow data fabric with data snapshots, only with the classic capabilities of up to two breakdowns and storing the scores on the ServiceNow instance.
Another question was just, is the functionality the same with Databricks as it is with the Snowflake from the demo? And I would assume it
The short
is.
answer is yes,
Yeah.
because like once you have mapped the table, then it doesn't really matter
Yeah.
where it's
Then
coming
it's
from.
source, once that mapping is done, it's source agnostic, I would assume then, right?
Correct. Correct.
Correct. Okay. Were there any others marked as follow-up? Because I wanted to then kind of go through some of these since we have a
I
few
see there's a
minutes
question
left.
on how many assists per query. I
Yeah.
assume this relates to AI Data Explorer, so it is 10 assists per AI Data Explorer query.
Let's see. Is there a content pack we can try on our developer instance? I believe that's saying basically, is there any way I can try out a zero copy connector or anything WDF related on a developer instance?
I don't think it's available on PDI instance. Something maybe we can take offline and communicate. I don't think it's available federated query engine for PDI. Last I've checked, but the, yeah, when I see customer, they've used one of their sub production instance, or we can deploy an evaluation instance which is gonna have access to it. The PDI at the moment, I don't think has access to our federated query engine in the backend. Maybe something to take offline and communicate.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Because it would be kind of nice. There's a question about lifetime value. So d- how do you define, or does ML define lifetime value?
So in this demo, lifetime value was automatically calculated. It was just a number assigned to each customer, and that was kind of work that was done on the Snowflake side. Maybe it was a view, some sort of a materialized view or something like that. But we just like treat it like a decimal field. So no, we shouldn't give it too much importance. I actually see a great question from Ron. So Ron is
Yeah, go for it.
asking, when would you recommend not using zero copy and move the data into ServiceNow? So that is a great question. So I think it really depends on the volume of the data and how much you want to kind of invest in kind of data syncing mechanisms. Obviously, if you have millions or tens of millions of records, then we do recommend using a workflow data fabric. But it really, really depends on the use case. I think we're targeting workflow data fabric to use cases where you have like almost everything you need in the ServiceNow world, but you want to kind of complete it, get to that 100% visibility with some data coming from external systems. At the end of the day, you need to remember, because like joining data between two systems or bringing millions of records, that is obviously an issue on the performance side. But if you're bringing pre-aggregated data, group by data, data that is filtered in a very specific way, then that can definitely done with zero copy connectors. So it's really per use case decision, but a very good question.
There's the I saw something on licensing with the AI Explorer. Yeah. Your example, does Aaron need a particular license to view the dashboard and ask questions using natural language?
So he would need the license to use AI Data Explorer, which is included in the Pro packages, Pro Plus packages. So ITSM Pro Plus, HR Pro Plus, Creator Pro Plus, etc., and the Workflow Data Fabric license, of course. I see a question from Greg. Will AI Insights look at all the records that are within an automated indicator? That is also a very good question, because for now, AI Data Explorer does not allow exploration on KPIs, and that is actually coming, if I'm not mistaken, safe harbor in the Australia release, and then it will be supported. But I think it's like something that is being worked on right now. So it's definitely coming.
So another I thought was a really good question here. On querying large amounts of federated data, are the remote information records locked for write access to have them processed in a consistent and integer state? So, are we protected against, the records being updated while the query is being is being
I
executed.
I honestly don't know, but either way, the data that comes into ServiceNow is read only, so we never write any data to the external system. So I assume risk here should be minimal or no risk because we're just reading data, and it's probably handled by the third party, Snowflake, Databricks, BigQuery. They probably each one has their mechanism to actually validate those writes versus reads.
All right, I flagged another one I think is a good one too. Do other users who want to view the Platform Analytics report need to have access to Snowflake or specific roles in ServiceNow? So once the data is over, is there a specific role or any ACL or anything that would prevent a standard user from seeing a visualization that's using Snowflake as a data source or Workflow Data Fabric as a data source that happens to be looking at Snowflake data?
Go ahead, Quentin.
Yeah, you gotta. It's like any. We treat those data fabric table like any other table, so you will have to have a read access to that data fabric table. So we honor the security model of ServiceNow. So if you're an end user, you're opening a dashboard, but that end user doesn't have in ServiceNow the read access to that data fabric table in ServiceNow, he won't have access at all to the Snowflake table. So you have to maintain those ACL in ServiceNow.
Okay, great.
I
Thank
hope
you.
it's clear. Yeah.
I think there was one other talking about the question of can we talk more about external connectors? How can we try it? And I think that was kind of that question we had just a minute ago around like PDI. And currently that is not available in a PDI, but is there any way from a customer's demo or customer's dev instance? And I would assume
Yeah. Yeah,
no, but
subprod. Subprod, if you are a customer of ServiceNow and you have a production instance and a bunch of subprod, or you can use one of your subprod, you could test all of those features in sub-production. If you have one that you don't care too much about testing plugin and there's no license or charge if you use in subprod, if you want to test external content connector or zero copy. That's my 2 cents. It's the easiest way for a customer. I know some of the features I leverage underlying new infrastructure component on PDIs. It takes more time for us to make them available on developer instance. However, for external content connector, I'm pretty sure it's available on PDI. And it's a very easy product to try. Like you don't really even need to follow a training for external content connector. Like it's very simple product. But I see there is interest for it, so maybe for another session.
I see an interesting question from Keshav, specifically asking about workflow and flow designer logic-based events. So essentially, it will not work because, again, we're not listening to changes on the external system. So for example, if you have a workflow that is triggered to run, when a certain record changes or updated or deleted, then it will not work because we're not listening to changes. Maybe there is some sort of hack with an integration hub.
We do.
Maybe.
Yeah, we actually have decoupled our flow trigger in Workflow Studio and with Flow Designer. So we have this concept of generic event trigger that you can create in the Workflow Studio UI. And it's basically that to the use case I was presenting earlier, the way Snowflake trigger an event in ServiceNow, it's basically a webhook. And to make it more maintainable and govern it better, in ServiceNow, you can create a generic event trigger in the Workflow Studio in ServiceNow. And you can point your Snowflake or Databricks when if you have threshold, and that threshold will just use a webhook to talk to ServiceNow and then trigger an action. But yeah, what Zai was saying, we're not listening on update or on insert on those data fabric table at all. That's not something we do. It will be too costly in terms of like latency and things like that. I hope that answered the question. So for getting insight from the Snowflake to trigger something, usually it's an API call to ServiceNow, and to better manage it in ServiceNow, it's called event trigger in ServiceNow.
Okay, I think there's a couple more that are flagged, but for the sake of everybody's time, we are actually at the top of the hour, so I'm going to go ahead and close this out. Zahi and Quentin, really appreciate you both coming on. Really great information, and obviously by the amount of questions, it is very interesting to our customers as well. So really appreciate the fact that you come on, and this will be a great session in our library to reference to other customers and of course and even people inside of ServiceNow. So thank you both for that. So real quick, make sure, fast track your journey. We have information here that you can scan this QR code and it can help you with those things within ServiceNow. AI Data Explorer, we actually just showed a little bit of that here recently, but if you want more information about that, here's a really good sway. Scan that QR code or use that link there to get to that sway to find more information about AI Data Explorer. Data snapshots, we talked about that as well. So we have a video that'll show you how that works as well. If you are on Yokohama and have RaptorDB Pro, you can be using data snapshots. That is what gets you the unlimited breakdowns that we've been talking about for a long time in PA. So check that out as well. Make sure that you're utilizing different tools we have out there. So ServiceNow Impact is out there. There are three Impact accelerators for PA specifically. Training and certification, there's plenty of that out there as well. And of course, if you have expert services, make sure that you're utilizing that information and those sources as well. And with that, thank you all. Again, Zahi and Quentin, and of course to our panelists, Tara, Dan, Marta, and Oriel. I think I saw that you got promoted as well. So thank you all. And Josh Cooper, I saw him answer some questions as well. So thank you to everybody. We'll see everybody in 2 weeks. Thank you.